Hello, Internet. I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And this is the wrap-up show from episode 442 of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. You're probably joining us from social media. We appreciate that. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and of course YouTube. Just search for Plug Hits Live and you will find us on any of those networks. Wherever you're joining us, thank you for doing so. This is a short wrap-up. We're going to talk about the topics we talked about on episode 442 of F5 Live. To get the entire episode, you can go to f5live.tv and it'll be right up there at the top. You can also subscribe to the show and all of the other shows on Plug Hits Live by the links on the right-hand side. With that, let's talk about what we talked about. In Nifty Gifties this week, we talked about T-Mobile and their promise this week of matching Verizon's coverage map in the next 12 months, which is a big, expense commitment from the company, because while they're not small like Alltel was or like Metro was before T-Mobile bought them, they're not the biggest coverage map by far. Every time you see their commercial, there's that huge gap in the top left corner, for example. And Verizon doesn't have that huge gap up there. So, this is a big expense commitment over a 12-month period.
I have faith in T-Mobile because if you look at how far they've come in terms of network speed and quality, it's leaps and bounds. As I mentioned, we did a test last year around this time of all the major carriers. T-Mobile came in second, just behind Verizon in terms of speed, but very, very close and better in some areas. And T-Mobile phones, the same phone on T-Mobile as on Verizon or AT&T or Sprint, lasts 1 to 2 hours longer because of the better network. So I think while it's a big expense, I think they're onto something. I believe they'll do it.
I think they actually have the capability and the management to be interested enough to do it now, because I think John Legere is the crazy guy who is willing to try things. And like we said during the show, they've kind of been the company that's been pushing the industry in a really good way. So in the Pilch Point, we talked about a crazy little device.
I have it right here. This is the Gola One. If you want to see it with the screen on, tune in to our full broadcast. It is a $99 PC that has a touchscreen, runs Windows 10 and Android, and we think would make a really excellent server, either portable or in your home, because it's easy to use that touchscreen to check things, and it's got a ton of ports.
Like a crazy number of ports.
Yeah, crazy amount of ports. So more than most laptops. So I don't know.
And
I think most laptops.
I think that says a lot both about this device and most laptops.
So definitely check it. Definitely, we go into some more detail about that, which I think is one of the more fascinating devices that I've tested this year.
I agree, and we came up with some interesting uses for it on the show. In the Extra Life, we talked about Pokemon Go again, because it's hard to avoid right now. This time, the potential legal problems that Niantic and other augmented reality companies could be about to face. In particular, there's a class action lawsuit about the location of Pokestops, gyms, and spawn points, just in general, brought on in particular by a guy in New Jersey who has had people hanging out outside of his house and on 5 separate occasions knock on his front door to ask for access to his backyard to catch Pokemon, which is a little weird. And we discussed the different problems that this indicates.
Yeah, that's New Jersey. In New York, we only have our state legislature trying to regulate companies like Niantic and force them to sync with our sex offender registry so that any home that's on the registry cannot have Pokemon in it.
I look forward to the next version of that where they ask companies like 3M and satellite tracking of people for access to where the anklets are at any given time.
Yeah, I mean it's
that's a different version of augmented reality, I think.
So we get into this more in the main show, but obviously there's a lot of people, both individuals and in the government, wanting to regulate this location-based apps like Pokemon Go, and I think it's going to bring a lot of this to a head and really try and answer the question of who controls the right to the reputation of your home, of your land,
or any physical location, whether it be home, business, or whatever, because there's a lot of Pokestops at businesses, restaurants, non-restaurant businesses, like in downtowns, basically anywhere where there's art is where you can find a Pokestop, because all the information comes from Ingress, the company's first game, where finding the physical locations was essential. Like knowing exactly where they were is essential. So it tends to be obvious things.
And I think whatever happens to Pokemon Go happens to Ingress and to whoever comes next.
Absolutely. So there are going to be a lot of people. Father.io is probably a company that's going to be keeping a close eye on this, because they're going to be the next big AR game. I think if they can make their implementation a little better than what I've seen so far, I think they're going to be the next AR game. So, companies, there are other things in the works, and everybody's going to keep an eye on this because it could have lasting ramifications for everybody. In news for the tubes, we talked about some changes coming to the Facebook feed. In particular, they want to cut down on those.
Wait a second, too. This part of the podcast is so interesting. You won't believe what happens next.
Yeah, exactly. Those kinds of headlines. Facebook wants to actively push down. I don't know the word I'm looking for. I've totally lost it.
They want to filter out.
Yeah, there you go.
Or de-emphasize or lower the rank of things considered to be clickbait.
And as we talked about in the show, different people have different definitions for clickbait, because I don't think there's anything you've ever written that could be considered clickbait, but you get accused of it from time to time. So
if it's something people want to read, then it could be called clickbait.
So it comes down to who's going to be determining what is clickbait in this particular case, because we already know that Facebook has a difficult relationship with what is and is not news, as was brought up a couple of months ago by their human editors who determine what is trending and what is not. So it could be problematic in general. And then in DRM not included, we talked about Hulu and cord cutting kind of in general, but Hulu in particular, who has a new investor in Time Warner, and all of that has to do with the upcoming launch of their live service, where you'll be able to not just see past episodes and essentially current episodes, but also literally current episodes, your local and national broadcast stations live on your computer, without having a cable subscription, which, like for us, I don't know who our cable company is now because it's been bought. But whoever it is, I have the ability to watch my cable subscription also on my computer or on my phone or my tablet. This would give you that same capability without a cable subscription. But like we talked about, there's no telling what networks will be available and what other services you will also have to be able to fill in the gaps. So those were our topics this week. Obviously, the main show has a full in-depth discussion of all of those topics as opposed to the very high level here. If you want to find out more about the topics, you can watch or listen to the main shows, F5 Live Refreshing Technology and The Pilch Point, or you can read the articles that are the support for our topics by going to f5live.tv and reading in the upstream, or laptopmag.com and Tom's Guide for the information from The Pilch Point. I believe you said that there's a hands-on with the thing
with
now.
The Scola one on laptopmag.com, and we'll have a rated review of it this week.
Very cool. So lots of content available in lots of places. You can go check all of that out right now. But on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you back next week. Ciao.